spent years trying to figure out who I am through my style, and it turns out I was putting myself into a box that I think I might have outgrown. Welcome back to Fits and Foundering. I'm Amy, and each week I wear my favorite outfit from my app, Styled by Tailor, and explore whether I was foundering, actually running a startup, or floundering, cleaning up the shit show chaos of running all of this. And spoiler alert, it's normally a little bit of both. But first, a moment for this cute jacket. Now, this outfit was not styled by Tailor, and there'll be more on that to come in a second. But I popped into Zara yesterday just to have a quick little nosy, and I had looked at this jacket months ago. And at the time, I was on a strict savings scheme where I wasn't spending any money because I was doing some international travel. And I put it back on the hanger, and I'd thought about it a couple of times since. But when I popped back in today, it was 80% off, $14. Absolute stoked. So here we are, but it felt like honestly a little bit of a metaphor for this entire week. Sometimes you just have to wait for the right things to show up when you're ready. So this week, the app was down. The Google API was broken. We couldn't get Tailor to load any pictures. There was no outfit matching. Every time I would try and use the stylist function, it would just flop. I was so disappointed, and I think as well, just this moment of panic. What does this mean for the beta test? Does it mean that people just won't come back again? Also, on a personal level, how am I going to get dressed in the morning? I've been so reliant on this app for months on end now. It felt like a little bit of a daunting moment where you just go, oh my God, what's next? But I think there was a really interesting moment for me to say, I'm going to handle this as I handle most things in my life, with clear, transparent, and honest communication. I emailed the testers and said, I appreciate your patience, but even AI has those, oh my God, I don't know what to wear moments. And at the moment, Tailor is down. So I really wanted to say a huge thank you for any of the beta testers watching this today. I appreciate your patience. Tailor will be back in just moments, but thank you for your incredible patience. On a personal level, because I'd been using this app so many times, it was one of those moments where I was like, am I going to be able to get ready in the morning? And of course the answer to that is yes. We're not super dependent on AI. Yeah. But it was a moment where I was going, I feel like I've been working in footstep to understand how I'm feeling and having that expressed externally every single day, that I don't really know. I need to go back to the drawing board on what am I going to wear today. But a really interesting thing happened is that I actually remembered some of the outfits that I felt really good in, and some of the outfits that Tailor had suggested that I hadn't yet worn. So I popped those on and we were off. Look, it wasn't as fast and it wasn't as effective as using Tailor, but it was interesting to see that I'd still actually learned a fair bit about my style and about who I want to be when I show up each day. And so it was amazing to have that reflected back in this moment. It is quite funny how far I have come, and today is my anniversary of living in New York, so I'm basically half a New Yorker now. But it was a moment for me to really reflect back on who was I when I stepped off that plane. A girl dressed head to toe in pink, buying pink Timberlands on her first day here, which I still have, and thinking that I had all this style stuff figured out. Little did I know there was so much more to come. And honestly, it caused me to reflect more on my style journey holistically. And honestly, there were some laughable moments in there. But that leads me to what we'll be talking about today, which is, why did you build this? Why are you here? What's the main driver for you putting your face all over Instagram and LinkedIn and YouTube to make this thing work? So let's just do a high-level recap of my style journey to ground you in a little bit of reality, because I have been through some journeys. So starting off with my real estate era, and my sister literally calls it that, not because of my job, but because of what I used to wear. I'm talking baby pinks, pastel blues, super high stilettos, straight skinny leg pants, crops, jackets, big necklaces, lots of makeup. You get the idea. But when I moved to Sydney, this aesthetic did not fit the vibe. And I went through this weird muddled transitional phase until I found what I thought was my be-all and end-all style. And that was one thing and one thing only, and that was pink frilly dresses with white sneakers. I wore this like it was a religion. And even last night I was talking with my friend Ali, and she said, I still look at pink dresses and think of you. Fast forward to moving to New York, that pink girl that stepped off the plane quickly realized that this wasn't the vibe again. And so again, I went through this weird transitional phase where I actually bought quite a lot of gingham dresses, God bless the gingham phase, and wore them religiously with white Birkenstocks. That was my go-to. God bless my friend Annabelle. Every time I would go back home to Sydney, she would literally dress me. We called it Style by Annabelle. That's literally how this app got its name, is because I would go home and she would dress me head to toe. It wasn't because I didn't know how to dress myself. It's because I didn't have an aligned direction. I didn't know where I was going, and so I couldn't put the clothes together. And she saw something that I just literally couldn't see. And look, I still love dressing up. I had a blast in my real estate days, truly just dressing with what felt right in that moment, slash a very specific role in that job. But I was stuck in this transition and I didn't know what to do. I had 5 gingham dresses, 100 pink dresses, some sneakers, some Birkenstocks, a whole bunch of pastels and stilettos that I'd lugged across 3 countries, and no idea what to do. So I did what every reasonable adult does in this moment. I cut all my hair off, donated it to charity, and dyed it blonde. Introducing the bright era. I'm talking yellow, bright orange, bright pink, bright green, all the different colors. I was doing bold color, monotone matching, playing with textures and styles, and looking at all these outfits on Pinterest being like, I'm gonna go out and buy another 3 pairs of pink pants, which I did do and still have. And God bless Annabelle again, who came in to intervene to be like, here's a style guide. She literally took my ideas off Pinterest and turned them into a guide, which was the most helpful thing for me in that transitional period, because I could walk into a store or do online shopping, I'd pull out my PDF and I go, does it match? Nope. Then I'm putting it away. And I wouldn't buy anything that wasn't religiously on that guide. However, I started my new job and realized I cannot turn up wearing bright, bold colors. It didn't feel the right professional level for the role. So again, I did what any reasonable adult does, and I went out and bought a ton of clothes. Really subdued whites, creams, navies, army greens, similar to the vibe that I've got on right now, but in excess. But it also opened the door for me to try out different structures. I got into more wide leg pants. I discovered belts for the first time. Who would have thought as a 30-year-old adult that she's just discovering belts? It also opened up the door for white, a color that I love but had never really got into, which I know just sounds absurd. But I think there was a moment for me to go, well, I have all these different color palettes. How does this all blend together? Because essentially I was going from a pastel to a, I don't know, to a bright pink to a, I don't know, maybe just wear skinny jeans 24/7 Doc Martens vibe, through to bright colors, through to subdued colors. But I looked at all of my clothes and I tried to map them out on this Canva board. So I put the red ones over here and the bright greens over here. I had my hair at the top, and over on the right was all of the whites and the navies and the greens and the blacks and all of that stuff over that side. And I just looked at it and I was trying to figure out whether I should dye my hair blonde again, whether I should keep it pink, which it was at the time. And I just looked at this and I was like, this is a total mess. And it was a total mess because I was trying to fit a dynamic human onto a static Canva board. Some days I want to wear white. It feels reflective, it feels flowy, it feels open. Some days I want to wear bold, bright colors because I'm in a bold, bright, charismatic kind of mood. Some days I want to wear army greens because it feels safe and grounded. And it's okay that I like all of those things, that they all suit me, and that they all feel like me today. I love finding new cuts and colors and things that work with my body and that make me feel aligned when I get up in the morning. But what I was trying to do was fit myself into one box. I was forcing myself to go, you're either bold or you're cream and navy. You don't get to be all of these things at once. And I think in that moment I was going, why is this such a mess? Why is this so hard? Why does this feel like it's broken? And the realization, I'm not broken. I'm just a spectrum of a human. And you're allowed to be a spectrum too. You're allowed to be loud and soft and challenged and open and creative. You're allowed to be all of these things and they can exist all in one human being. That is the beautiful thing about being human. And the key thing to this, they don't all have to match. You don't have to say, I'm this person consistently. You can be bright one weekend and then black the next. Some days I want to wear all pink. This is a whole industry thing. The industry says you need to find your style, find your aesthetic, find your way, be you. We're never going to pick a Pinterest board and go, that's it. But what I'm finding on this style journey is that there is this big spectrum that can exist. And maybe there's a cohesive thread across all of it, or maybe you're a bit like me and it's just all over the place sometimes. I get really bogged down by the should, and not just in my style life, but I'm talking like, I should wear this, I shouldn't wear that. This doesn't go with this. This is underdress. It's not right for this occasion. Sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it's subconscious, but it all piles up. And as I've gotten more creative, I've wanted to understand the self-expression more. I've wanted to pair belts and pants and look at the different textures and how this all fits together. I actually own more than one handbag right now, which was a huge deal to move away from just my standard camera bag black crossbody. But more complex for me right now means expressing myself with belts and wide leg pants sometimes, and maybe throwing in a bracelet. I'm not quite there in terms of the Pinterest, Instagram model boards. And what it means is suddenly I'm overthinking this whole thing again. Because when it was just a pink dress and white sneakers, it was so easy. I knew what to wear. It was super simple to pick out which shade of pink did you want to be today and which style of sneaker did you want to wear. It all matched, it all went, it was super easy to put on. But once I've started playing around with this, it feels like there's so much error for wrong. But I don't want to be put in a box. I don't want to be just one thing. And I feel like this must resonate with people who are so focused on finding my style, but realizing that they're just reverting to one singular thing and not really recognizing or having the agency to express that full spectrum of yourself. How do you give yourself permission without performing? How do you give yourself permission to express who you are without the guilt of finding my style? So that's what Tailor is. It's permission. It's not just an app. It's you taking center stage in your agency. It's asking what's happening in your world today. How are you actually feeling? Do you feel like being bold and bright? Because some days you're just not gonna wanna. And it's not about finding your aesthetic, and it's not about being the best dressed on Instagram. It's about saying, this is how I feel today, and I'm feeling more aligned by the external expression of myself because it matches how I feel on the inside today. It's freedom from the shoulds. It's permission to be across the spectrum of yourself. And it's the agency to express where you are today, knowing that it might change tomorrow. Today I'm bold, tomorrow I'm soft. Next day, I just want to stomp around. And all of those versions of you are totally okay. And I'm almost guaranteed that you've got something in your wardrobe that will help you express that. And honestly, I don't know if I'm fully qualified to solve this problem. There's a deep psychological core within here that I've been looking at and researching. I do know that I am on a mission to express myself as authentically as possible. And sometimes that means wearing beige, and sometimes that means wearing bright pink head to toe. So does this make any sense? Sometimes I feel like I'm just talking to myself, but I imagine there's people out there in the world that feel the same way. And because you're still here, I'm presuming that you might be one of those people. So know that if you're on this journey too, you're not broken. You're a spectrum. You're allowed to show up as all these different versions of yourself. All of that's okay. All of that is held, and all of that is seen. So if you wake up one day wanting to be one thing but dressing like another, then this is the app for you. We're launching in roughly a month. So if you want to come and join, then there's a sign up link in the description, and you're more than welcome to come on this journey, and we would love to have you. So let's wrap this up. This week was definitely a lot more foundering. Reflecting on this journey has been such a humbling but beautiful moment for me to go, that is why I'm building this, is because I've been on this journey myself many years. And it feels so good to be able to express that with the world. And this jacket, the one that I waited for ages to buy for $14, which still feels like an absolute bargain. This is reflective that sometimes we just have to wait. Sometimes we have to walk through the journey. Sometimes we just have to go through the moments to find out who we are, to find the thing that clicks today. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next week.